Okay, my name is Howard Tritz. I was born in Leadville on February 29th, 1936, leap year day. My great-grandfather came here in 1879 as a prospector and later owned a couple of old mines in Leadville. And my dad worked in the mines his life. And my mom, my dad, we all lived up on the east end of Leadville and East 5th Street. My dad worked at the Climax molybdenum company for about 30 years. And he never worked in the mine, he worked in the mill. I went to college at Regis, got a degree in chemistry there. Went on to dental school in Creighton University, left that, came back, went to work at Climax, worked in the mill department. It was as a laborer in the beginning. And after a year, went on the management training program. And because of my degree in chemistry, I was able to get a real good management job. I was a mill operations foreman, the crusher operations foreman. But I never liked the idea of going down underground and being down there in the dark. I enjoyed being up on the top, and I really enjoyed working in the mill where you brought the rock out, crushed it up, run it through the float machines, put chemicals in there, and you're able to get a final product. That was very worthwhile, and it was fun to see the molybdenum coming off those floats and realizing that just came from that bare-looking rock that just came through the crusher. There was a time when we were making what we called a high-grade molybdenum, moly sulfide. There's 3 of those little ball mills, and then we had a row of float machines that after we made the regular grade, that was usually, about 90-92% pure moly. Then we'd run it through another 3 stages of milling and 2 to 3 stages of flotation, and we refined it to the high grade of 99.9% molybdenum. And that was selling primarily for lubrication, greases, things of that sort. But that was one of our high points. The Climax made a lot of money. I never witnessed it. I was there during the good days when we were making all the moly we could, and it was being sold for high prices. We also had tungsten, pyrite, tin, and a little bit of monazite that we get off the byproducts plant. In the beginning, when Climax was started back in the 1919 area, 1920 era, they only had 1 mill, small mill. Eventually, they went to more mills, and we ended up with 20 ball mills. There was 4 large ones, and the rest 16 were small ones. So we advanced as far as milling, and we also, in crushing, they started out with a couple old jaw crushers, actually 3, and ended up with one of the largest gyratory crushers in the world, the Stork crusher at that time. But also, I started out in the mill department using a slide rule. And after that, we went to eventually a Texas Instrument calculator. And that first one, a little calculator, cost $700. And today they give them away. And we went from that eventually to Fortran, to the big discs for the primitive computers. It had those great big discs that spun around. And then from that we went to the mills being operated by computer, the mills and floats. Instruments that would tell you the density. You didn't have to go and take a sample. You knew what the density of the floats was. So it modernized very much, but it still wasn't enough. It was just so old-fashioned. There was so many mills and all the crushers and all the screens, things that they didn't use in the modern mills anymore. Well, you got to think back in the years. The first layoffs we had were in '82, and we lost a lot of people. Assessed valuation went clear down to around 32 million from where I think it was around 80 million before that. And then again, they started up in '89, so I went back in '89 again and was running the mill and crusher. It was a very limited number of people. It was really tough in those days because you didn't have enough people to do the job properly. We went from like 3,000 people and down to 200. You know, the thing that I enjoyed the most in mining, of course, would be milling for me, but the very thing that stands on top of everything is the fact that you could take a rock that looks seemingly invaluable, and yet you run it through that machine, you run a ton of it through those machines, and you get 6 pounds of molybdenum. The rest of it goes out the tailings pond. But that was a highlight to see we were producing molybdenum that was useful for somebody in the world, all of us in the world, for automobiles, for anything that steel is used in, refrigerators, whatever. Molybdenum was in it, and it still is. And that's the biggest thing, is to see how much your work was really helping other people in the world to survive.